Hey there folks, and welcome to the next 650 pp tryouts. In this tryouts I am doing the Alpine A110 1972. A trilobite of a car. So the Alpine A110 1972, or in other words, what I call for nickname the trilobite, is a inline 4-cylinder car. Very old engine, I gotta say, at the end of the days, by Renault, and I guess technically phenomenal considering this is considered one of the best rally cars. Period. What parts can it have? Well, I'll just say this, I had to slap every part because this is technically max 2 in some ways, just a little bit more balanced for the 650. What else? When it came to tuning this car. Or to parts, I should say. Yeah, so literally every part you can add to the car at the end there. Got the end result is 330 horsepower if you had the mid turbocharger on, I will say. Could have more if you put the high, but I kept it mid because usually when it comes to turbochargers you want the lower mid on for that extra acceleration push. Can't say for speed push, but mostly it's usually acceleration. And such. It's only 1,724 cc, not a big motor. But also to say, you can apply a wide body to it, and also you can have the Silvia S15 motor if you prefer that instead. For a bit more horsepower, which, you know, might be pretty good, I will say, because this motor is not, you know, great on the whole factors, I'll just say that in the future here. But, you can have up to 13-inch of rims, or to 17. I think at best you can widen the offset, you can't widen the other bit. And you could have headlights, or you can just slap on rally covers. But yeah, for spoiler though, it's not much, just a custom spoiler at the end of it. Yeah, you really don't want you to touch the by L on this one. Although I'm not surprised, I think it's already good enough. You could probably do. Besides maybe adding like bottom skirts in the future, I could think of. But this car is already pretty low to the ground, I will say. And small. Very small. Yeah, I got the roll cage type A because it is a club cab of a car. Of a coupe, I should say. And then also, for lights, kept it with the super cools. If I had the preference though, I probably should have stuck with the yellows, I think. But in my part, I will. It was. Then for license plate, well, the front's not a license plate, but the back is. You're just able to surprisingly paint the front. If I was shocked about that. It's like, oh, okay, I could just do that. So I got the A110 in the back and the Grand Turismo in the front. Yeah, Tuesday though, probably just stick with the Type A because of the wider back one. But the preference is and then caliper covers, surprisingly the yellows. I think I would have went with the golds. But I think that's what I just did, I just turned around to switch to gold. I will say this vinyl is not in my thing yet, or upload, so this So for the tuning, I mostly involved with the body height and the anti-roll bar for obvious reasons, because this car is old, and when it comes to going up and down the roller coaster section of Deep Forest Raceway, it could get pretty bad. Because it is, I mean, it is an old car and it suffers the whole suspension pause thing. Because back then, I think of respring suspension or something like that. It's something of the sort. I just know it locks in if you so happens to get too pushed in. So, Other than that, not really much else besides just in the spoiler a bit and a tiny bit of weight. Has a bit in the front, I believe, for ballast. And then 264 transmission, even though I'm just gonna say it does 200 miles per hour. So for something that says 260 is definitely wrong. But the Alpine A110, as I said, dropped just earlier here. That is a famous, I believe, a famous rally car, and I believe a famous touring car too. The Alpine A110 is a big old high representation of Renault, and it shows. It clearly shows on that. And I think it's still owned by Renault too. And he also did eventually sort of brought sort of not, with the newer A110, that is the 2013 or 2015, something like that. Which I call that one the Scarab. Yeah, the Trilobite, which, yeah, if you look at this car looks like a Trilobite to me. I gotta say. Just looking at the shape and stuff. And yeah, not only that, this is a small car. Like, this thing is dinky in comparison. But as a result being that dinky though, it weighs like 1,396 pounds, so not much. And that would explain the 200 miles per hour. The trade-off is, for being so light like that, you're not going to have much acceleration though in return. So if I had to say for acceleration for this, it'd definitely be a 1 star on that part. The turning part, not so bad. It's a rear drive, I should say. Which rear drives are interesting because you think they feel similar to MRs. They don't. They control way different. They technically have a bit more control in some cases, but also lesser stability though. That's what it feels like when it comes to rear drives, because all that weight's in the back. So when you turn, you're definitely pitching more than you should, it feels like. And to this day, in terms of rear drives, I think at best it's the 911 anymore. Volkswagen Beetle went to FF, the Alpine here went to MR. The only RR to this day, I believe, is the 911. You know, it seems Porsche is trying to change it to a MR correction. There's a lot of MR examples, from the 918 to the Carrera GT, the Cayman, the Boxer, I believe. Or maybe that was a front, I'm not sure. I don't know, it would be nice to see the front. Porsche engine at the end of it. But if there's anything that Alpine is just known for, it's really the A110. And that's really it. Because there's not really much else I kind of don't know about Alpine, besides their great racing career. That's really about it. And that's loosely on that, because I don't even know they even have an A110 rally car nowadays, so they're just known for just a fun car you can just get nowadays. And such. I guess think of it as a Mazda Miata, just for, you know, if you just want that coupe, but the problem is it's an expensive coupe, so, you know, it's European after all, as the saying goes. Yeah, overall, when it comes to the time performance of this car, it's not great. It's really kind of not great at all about this, I will say. And such. So yeah, don't expect great numbers with this car at the end of it. It's definitely not a sprint kind of car. Although, I mean, it has the speed to counter that, though. It just really kind of shows, considering 114.7, where it's not that quick. I mean, it does do the job though at the end of the day, and especially later on here, because just to say its fuel mapping is really good too. It's pretty crazy on that part. That's probably the one crazy good thing about this car. This car has the endurance to withstand for a good while. That's the crazy part. Yeah, I went with this vinyl, which the vinyl is kind of based off, I believe, the rally car. Matter of fact, I just try to do it more my direction about this, even though I still feel like I still need to do more to it. That's why I didn't post it. Like I'm making change the checkers to yellow instead of the blue, for example, and such. Okay, here we go for the last swings, turns and stuff around the streets of Willow Spring. Yeah, at best I'm seeing 114.305. That's not great. Not great that much. At least maybe doable, I guess I would say. Yeah, let's see. 114.136, and that beats, which at best it beats the XNRG Roadster of 1960s. So at least it's, you know, more successive. At least it's a tad. Which that's actually a good sign though, it looks like, because then I know the XNR takes 2 laps. This takes double, I'll just say that. So yeah, 4 laps in difference when it comes to Le Mans. So yeah, this thing is pretty good on the fuel map at least. It's just the performance is not going to be great on the sprint part. Yeah, onto the Forest Raceway for its balance and maneuverability. See if there's like any errors, but yeah, I'll just say this, the suspension still kind of locks up, because I try to get as high as I can, but without, you know, of course the time being decimated a little bit more, and it's as high as I get, which as a result, it doesn't really lock in that bad, luckily. I figure it doesn't even lose control very much, so I think I'm hitting right at the spot it needs to be at the end of that. It's just a matter of acceleration, like 1 star, and then speed here, I would say technically 5 star, but it ain't gonna really show that unless you're driving on an airport. So say, I'll just say this: it's gonna do bad at drag races. Don't do drag races with this. Instead, do endurance stuff, because that is where it's gonna be at for this car. Yeah, 133.417, which I think that definitely did beat something on that one. Let's see. 113.417, that would beat the Integra, so it was a good part there. Did not beat the Jaguar D-Type, but yeah, if I had to say rival, I think the Jaguar D-Type would be that rival. I mean, it'd be a weird rival by almost 20 years difference, but it's a rival nonetheless. Because that is also the other car that does 4 laps. I can back up in terms of performance itself. Yeah, it really showed, because yeah, I do think the Jaguar D-Type's a bit better on the acceleration factors compared to this. This is like full-on endurance mode when it comes to this car. That's just how much repetitively I have to say about that. It's that much of endurance. It's like it was made for Le Mans when I don't know if it was at the end of it. Because I wasn't ever born at this time. So this car to me is like 20 years old. But yeah, this car is that old. But, I mean, not a bad car at the end of the day. As long as you can fit in it. As the thing goes. Because this guy looks like he's probably like 5 feet. And that looks worrisome, like I said. Just looking at that. Although, I probably shouldn't put the banner on, because that banner takes some of that windshield too. Yeah, nothing about that banner. Probably get rid of that banner in the future. When it comes to vinyl design. Because yeah, that doesn't look right. Because the gyro doesn't have full view then. Onto the best lap of this, which yeah, 133.233. I think it did turn around and beat the Integra. Not bad. Not bad at all. That part, because yeah, that's the other rival I can think of. It's the Integra, because it's on kind of par with that one. I think the Integra has a bit more horsepower though. like 365, I believe, or something like that. The bad part, the Integra only does 3 laps, I recall. Where this does straight up 4 laps. That's the best advantage you could probably get out of Alpine at one time. Like that. Because yeah, it can't go any faster. This is a max that you're gonna get. Here we go down the straightaway. Down to the roller coaster a bit. Or make it more nicknamed the rolling coaster. Because it feels like you're coasting on down. 132.872, that's pretty good, I guess. That's not bad. Cause yeah, I will say, I did exactly that time. And yeah, 132.8. It did not still technically beat anything, but at least it beat the Jaguar D-Type there. So by balanced track, that's where it kind of gets good. Now onto Mount Panorama, which this might do a lot better, I would think, because it's a speed track, and that might use its speed a lot more often. The only portion I can think of where it gets bad is during this hill climb here, because the acceleration is going to be butchered. I'll just say that much. But it still kind of shows its hauling process, I'll say that. Hauls its butt way up there. On to the twisty bends. Yeah, like I said, I use Mount Panorama as an example for Le Mans because this is like a mini Le Mans to it. To that set track. This is the big old straightaways. Bigger straightaways, and then there's this twisty bit. But the twisty bit's at the middle, where Le Mans is at the near end. Unless you go like in reverse, which I don't know if Le Mans was ever driven in reverse. That would be an interesting sight to see. Oh god, yeah, okay, so there is one mention too, brakes. Be careful of the brakes about this car. This car's brakes is very loose for some reason. I don't know if it's because how I set up the brakes or what, but when I lessened it though, it kind of fixed it more, so it's really weird. That was just not getting enough grip upon braking. I'm not very sure what to really describe that at the end of it. Step onto the curb bend here, on down the straightaway. To this corner. Last corner here. See how it hits for the first lap here. 211, 212, 213, 214, 215. Oh! Wait, no, that's oh, yeah, that's not that great. Good God. 216.176. That's in the back. Okay, man, I might take that back. Even on this course, it's kind of bad. That's shocking on that. But then again, I think that hill climb is what kills it the most. Because it struggles its way there. But I'm not surprised, because like I said, the acceleration to me is like a 1. It has bare minimum acceleration. But I wouldn't be surprised if you turn around and put that S15, it kind of fixes that problem. But the only problem I can think of when it comes to the Silvia though, it is going to weigh more. But then again, the Silvia motor is also an inline 4 as well. And it makes sense because, you know, Renault's with Nissan, so you know. Also, I keep saying Renault. I think that's how I pronounced it way back then. It's supposed to be Renault, but I know. I know, I'm a bastard. That's the thing, guys. You're a pronunciation bastard. I say Rayquaza when you say Rayquaza. What's that weird Fuso Mitsubishi mascot character, which I don't know what that's about. I need to look at that. That's the interesting part about this track, is that character specifically. But now onto the last turn here. Let's see if it does a way better, not 216 there, because oh my god, that's bad. Yeah, I would say 214 is oof, my god, 215.7. I'd say it's not gonna be good. Gonna be good, Captain. Yeah, because the fastest it needs to beat is the Integra Type R at 214.3. So that's interesting. That hill climb must really struggle at that bad. It has to. Then again, the Integra is gonna have an advantage there because it's a FF, but this is a RR. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the biggest problem about RRs. If you just don't have that torque, you might have problems with hill climbing. That's the only thing I can think of. I will say, at the time this car was presented and stuff versus the Stratos and stuff, it was probably an okay time about that. It's just, I will say, if you tune a Stratos and then you tune this, it is going to be night and day difference. Because the Stratos is at least an MR, where this is a RR. And since it's focusing on turbos, turbos don't offer torque very much. They mostly offer horsepower. Although I will say if it's the lower RPMs though, then it kind of fixes that. I will say somewhat. Yeah, 214.9, so at least got to the 214 margin at some point. So yeah, because as the saying goes, this is the best lap. Because I usually do the first 2 laps just showing the car and then the best lap here, which I don't try to move the camera all so then maybe the straights, because I don't know how would you not mimic me on the straights. As the thing goes. But onto the big straightaway here. .8, is a bit better. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is gonna be the lowest on the speed. Then now the more I think about it, and that's how much of a brain can change. Because initially you think, oh, okay, this might do good. It has the speed to do it. Yeah, that's speed though. That's not acceleration. That's not the torque. 112, 113, 114.135. Did they do it? Let's see. And it did barely. It barely beat the Integra. That's impressive. Now, what can it do? It could definitely do the Sunday Cups, I'll tell you that much. Of course, especially this guy is fitting for the Classic Cup, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone turned around and just use it for that. We also did the European Sunday Cups because all they just say is European, which I give you a big old thumbs up on that because I like that better than the other ones that are the FRs or the all four-wheel drives, because those don't exist. As it goes. But yeah, anything European Clubman Cup, which yeah, I forgot about the Clubman Cup 600 there. You can do that too. Race of Turbo Sports Cars, you can do that for sure because it has turbo. And then you can do the World Touring Car 700 there. Heck, you can probably turn on slap dirt tires and probably do the 600 too. So they're probably lower enough, I would say. And then for Hypercar Parade, debatable because of its sprint speed being so bad, I wouldn't suggest it. Stored sports cars, you probably could if you just turn around and slap some sports tires. And then we got the parades here. You could do the France one too, because it is a French car. You could do the European Championship. You could do the WTC 700, which I tried that. It's not so bad. It's not so great year. Now onto the race, in which I'll say, yeah, 1 lap in, I'm already at 7, so it's not so bad. But I will say that is pretty stingy. Although I will say, for this race case, the Corvette C7 is being an enemy for this one. I would say for a bit though, because just say yeah, it rained like no tomorrow on this one. But to say about the A110, it would do an amazing job if it's purely dry throughout this track. If it's not that dry throughout this track, it's not going to do so well. But you know how the AI gets stupid around rain, so you're definitely going to outperform them at the end of the day. If I had to say for rank when it comes to sprint though, this is where it gets kind of bad, because I would say it might be a low C or a D. That one. Where for, let's see, what's supposed to say. For the endurance side though, I would say A. I don't know if I would say S, because it is good, it's just not that crazy good because of this poor acceleration it has. And you know, that might be just due to the being an RR at the end of the day. Because yeah, you're not really pushing all the speed in at the end of the day. It's lacking at some spot somewhere. Then again, I mean, reminder, it's only 330 horsepower, so it's not much in that department. For as a 650 pp racer, that's actually very impressive and probably the lightest you could probably get. Like I said, for 650 pp racer, by good performance standards, that's pretty impressive for a production car wise. Probably crazy on that, but it's kind of impressive on that part. Yeah, my goal is trying to get up to these 5 guys right now. Which, getting over close to a V8, it's not, like I said, the acceleration part is kind of a bit of a struggle because it's trying to get there, but because of the fact you have to stop and go when it comes to this track having these chicanes and stuff. I mean, it's fine. It's fine it has the chicanes, I will say, because it's less for fuel you're burned through too on top of it. Because I will say, if you ever did a comparison test between the chicane and no chicane, you will burn more on no chicane than you are with the chicane. You would think you would burn more on the chicane, but no, because of the fact you're not full drawn on the way down, you will be running less fuel. It's just a matter of control and stuff at the end of it. That's where it gets interesting when it comes to Le Mans. But yeah, so trying to get to the other 3 now, which is not bad because they're not too far. They're right there. It's just a matter of getting to them. Yeah, I will say that rain is eventually creeping up here. So that's it. Cause yeah, this race was kind of unique, I gotta say, because it was like, oh, it's a nice sunny day. It's really gonna stay dry, right? Nope. Give it a good about another, I would say 2 or 3 minutes here. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain like no tomorrow. Yeah, just you know the distance here, which they're basically the same. They don't change up, sadly. I kind of would like if they change up. That's one thing I hope in the update, that they change this rouster, because this rouster is older than dirt. As thing goes. If there's any threats you just have to constantly deal with, though, it's Corvette C7, the Viper Grade 4, or C7 Grade 4, Viper Grade 4, and then the Hurricane Grade 4. Sometimes that Lancer Evo Grade 4. That's the only other one I can think of when it comes to this race. Italia is one of the worst. M4 is strangely one of the worst. Probably because he keeps using sauce in this race, which I'll just say this, you do not need sauce for this race. Why do you do this? Because this track is all about speed. And it's very key to this. Yeah, pass the V advantage at some point. And the GR Supra. I think it's because no, you didn't shield. No. Okay, I just passed him. Oh no, I think I know what happened. Swift pitted. Yeah, he pits on second lap, even though it's weird. Yeah, because here's the interesting part. Normally that Corvette C7 pits. He did not pit for this race for some reason. It's very interesting. He's actually going to go all out. Because usually the Viper does the 3 laps. He don't do the 3 laps. So he's actually pulling a half sleeve, like I said. Yeah, here comes the rain though. And yeah, it is busy rain. It's going to rise up to that 1.5 when it comes to wetness. Yeah, whenever it hits 1.5 on the wetness chart, that's when you want to be worried about your braking and stuff. And throttling overall. That's when you want to gentrify big time. And such. Yeah, this car does pretty much move though, 172. Because they're not moving that crazy fast, luckily. Because eventually I would end up catching them at the end of the day. If it was a full dry race, I would immediately caught up to them and basically scored at this point. Because that's where I'm debating, like, is this an A or an S? It's hard to say, but then again, I remember the D-Type doing this in colors, like, no problem. Although, that car was built in mind for the endurance race. So, it's a fun case at the end of the day. But yeah, if I have to say at the end of the day, I think Sprint is C, Frank, the more I thought about it, and endurance is A at the end of the day. I would say a high A though, because of its wonderful use. If a no fuel Sprint though, I have to say D. Because I feel like it would have trouble for that case. But it could be a C as well. But yeah, here comes some funny crap here though too. Because every time, once that rain hits a certain threshold, the AI freaks out because then he just was, oh crap, I need to brake more than I should. They don't translate it that fast. So as a result, you get stuff like this happens. Oh no! Especially the Viper. I think the Viper gets effed up the most. But yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this because this is not from Gran Turismo News. This is more vlog news. But I am happy what's about to happen here in the next month, though. I might put Spyro to the side for a minute. I might not. I might just play on the side, but basically, Twist Mode 3 and Twist Mode 4 just recently got announced about the state of play. I'd say about a week and a half back here, or something like that. Got announced hiddenly, mind you, because of course it happened when they were doing the talk bit and not, oh I don't know, in the freaking news part, the important part. But no, let's put it in the talk session because you know you gotta have a reason to hear them out, you know, on that state of play shenanigans, direct stuff at the end of the day. But to say though, there's Twist Mode 3 and Twist Mode 4 coming soon for July 15th, I believe. So I am so happy for that. I don't know if it's going to be as pure vanilla as it gets. I kind of hope not, because I hope they at least increase the frame rate so it's not as clunky. I assume that's one thing they probably are going to do that's different from the original release, because yeah, that was the big problem about the original release. It was frame rate clunky because I think the tech hit that point, Captain, so it said. But the game had, specifically 4 has wonders about things you can do on that game. I will say that. And I might have a lot of detailed cars in the future that are going to be based around 4. But to say, at the end of the day, for the Alpine A110 is a very remarkable car, and it's not as crazy as I thought, but it does do wonders, I will say. This is a very wonderful car at the end of the day. It's not a on-point kind of car. It's just, if you can present it, you have it at the end of the day. Yeah, the Alpine A110 is a very beautiful machine at the end of the day, and I gotta say, pretty good. overall, people, I'll see you guys next time. You guys take care. I hope you enjoyed what you watched here. Until then, ciao. Take care, y'all.